Should Manchester United activate Kang-In Lee's €17 million release clause and sign him from Real Mallorca? Manchester United have got a busy summer ahead of them, and to balance the books, they're going to have to find some real bargains in the market. And I want today to introduce you to 22-year-old South Korean attacking midfielder Kang-In Lee, because he could be a really quality player for Manchester United to sign. Kang-In Lee broke onto the scene in the 2019 Under-20s World Cup, where he won the Golden Ball as the best player. Since then, he moved to Valencia and then left on a free transfer 2 seasons ago to join Real Mallorca. He's a player that's always had the quality, that's just needed a season or two to get himself to the level in European football. Kang-In Lee is a left-footed attacking midfielder, a player that's brilliant on the dribble. He's got that Messi-esque ability in the acceleration, deceleration to burst past opponents before slowing them down, beating them again on the dribble with a nice little bit of technical dribbling with that left foot. He's a player that would add quality to Manchester United's attack and could play on the left wing as a natural left winger, getting the ball into the box, crossing for his teammates. I think one of the big things that Lee would allow Manchester United to do is spend their budget on other positions. You know, signing someone for €17 million is an absolute bargain in this current market, which could allow Manchester United to strengthen in defence, strengthen in between the sticks, and strengthen in defence and midfield. Maybe pushing Marcus Rashford to number 9 and dealing with that situation next summer. Of course, I'd love to see Man United sign Harry Kane and a Højlund or an even Ferguson, but Man United might only be able to buy one of those guys. So signing a young forward like a Højlund and then pushing Marcus Rashford to that starting 9, bringing Kang-In Lee in for €17 million makes a lot of sense. So let's take a look at the news. The news, of course, coming from Matteo Moretto, who broke the Weghorst news to Manchester United. He released an article a few days ago basically saying that Manchester United were interested, along with Atletico Madrid, to sign Kang-In Lee. And I think this could be a really smart bit of business. Not only would he be able to play in a number of attacking positions, you know, we talk about him playing on the left, but would be comfortable at playing in that attacking midfield role. Of course, comfortable playing as that kind of right-sided, left-footed attacker as well, and potentially could do a job as a false 9. I think one of his biggest strengths, you know, he comes across as an attacking midfielder, a player that can carry and dribble, but he's got a bit of strength about him. He's quite short, quite stocky, but he's also very agile, which could lead to him being a really good link player in between the lines. I think one of his biggest strengths is receiving passes to feet and then turning and getting himself faced forward and attacking the opposition. He's really clean in his touch, either left foot, right foot, instantly getting himself forward, attacking the opposition and then getting on the dribble. It's a real quality of a top-level footballer to make a first touch almost look effortless in a sense of receiving and then going straight away, and Kang-In Lee has definitely got that. So let's take a look at him from a perspective of what's he done in La Liga this season. The overall statistics, 6 goals and 4 assists, which is a pretty decent return from a side that's sitting in mid-table, be it, of course, in a league that's a little bit weak this season. I still think that he's got a lot of potential. One of the games that we had a real detailed look at was his performance against Athletic Bilbao. Showed a lot of quality and scored a really good goal. A number of different aspects that I love for an attacking midfielder. His overall statistics for that game: completed 17 passes, had 5 crosses, 1 shot, completed 6 out of his 6 dribbles, won 11 out of his 15 duels, and won 2 out of his 3 tackles. There was a number of parts of the game that I kind of really enjoyed from a perspective of utilising his speed, utilising his strength, but also utilising his awareness off the ball to defend his fullback behind him. Again, all things that you want in a top-level forward. In terms of the tactical setup for Real Mallorca this season, they're operating basically a kind of 3-5-2, a little bit defensive, but Lee's really given the freedom to attack that left-hand side and takes up some natural wing positions from a Matt Zala role in that 3-5-2. So looking at that kind of performance against Bilbao, I think one of the first things that you can kind of pick up from Kang-In Lee is his ability to change the tempo of an attack, something that Manchester United really could utilise. You know, at times United are a little bit laboured when building through the lines. I think one of Lee's biggest strengths is receiving and then adding that little bit of tempo. Here's him receiving on 7 minutes against Bilbao, of course, received defeat, good first touch. You can see at the moment that there's 2 players looking to pressurise him, but of course Lee's ability to beat a man in the 1v1 dribble is absolutely fantastic. He actually ranks in the top 1% of players in Europe's top 5 leagues for dribbles completed. And we see in this instance a brilliant And we see in this instant a brilliant driving run through the heart of the Bilbao team and then being brought down on halfway, something that would add a bit of quality to United's transition. But it would be bad to just shoehorn Lee into that dribbling category because he's got that vision and has a number of creative passes in his armoury. One of the moves I've seen a few times is him dropping a little shoulder, creating separation with his marker, receiving to feet, instantly turning, and then playing the ball over the top. In this instance, of course, it goes to the left wing back, but I've seen at times him peel off the line, spin, and then find a winger in behind. This again would work for Manchester United. You think of the pace that United have got out wide in Marcus Rashford and Antony, and maybe someone like Bruno Fernandes from deep. This type of play of Lee dropping off the line, playing the ball over the top would be absolutely deadly. I think the other side of Lee as well, when the decision is right to not dribble, he will use the pass. He'll use his ability to carry, to draw the opposition in, and then slide a little through ball through with a little poke. I think he's quite a creative passer. He has little dinks in his armour, he has little, pokes of the foot, and I think that will not only long-term allow him to find his teammates in between the lines, but will add to his assist numbers in the long term. So looking at Lee from a defensive perspective, when the opposition have won the ball back, he's not the greatest counter-presser. I think that's part of his game that Manchester United would have to work on. I think he's got the natural aggression though, so it shouldn't be so difficult to make him a super effective presser of the football. For Mallorca obviously sits kind of on that left-hand side at times in a natural left-wing position. Again, Manchester United at times have struggled against certain opponents to protect the fullback. The good thing with Lee is he is quite responsible at dropping back and protecting his fullback and then winning the ball back with aggression, forcing the opposition into a bad pass and then carrying through. One of his best traits, as we mentioned, is adding that pace to the attack. Carrying at real speed. When you watch him, he's absolutely lightning quick, which not only would allow United to counter-attack super fast, but will draw the opposition in and then he can beat them 1v1. Got an instance of his carrying against Athletic Bilbao, following, of course, a little bit of defensive work. We can see him protecting his fullback, working out on Nico Williams, a brilliant 1v1 dribbler, but giving him no option to take on the defence and forcing him into a backwards pass, which of course leads to Lee putting pressure on the football, winning it back and then carrying through. Really good traits for a young winger. 22 years old, but defensively very, very responsible in that low block. Now on to his goal. We've got to talk about his goal. I think one of Lee's biggest strengths is when receiving with a player behind him or when he's had a little bit of a dribble and there's been pressure on his back. He's deceptively strong, a la kind of Mohamed Salah. Salah's one of those players in the Premier League that you fire the ball into his feet, he will hold the ball up. I think it's a really good trait for a winger to have a little bit about themselves. Lee's build, he's quite short, he's quite stocky, quite barrel-chested. This little flick, though, against Bilbao was absolutely brilliant. As we can see, there's pressure on his back. But the flick from the instep to get himself free is absolutely brilliant and creates a goal. So the little flick frees him up, gets him to break through the Bilbao heart of their midfield. Good awareness to switch the play to the other side, to the right winger, and then get into the penalty area. The ball gets sent into the box, and Lee is demanding the ball in the penalty box. This is something that he does in open play as well when receiving off his teammates. He's not afraid of receiving the ball. He'll demand it in areas that are uncomfortable, but know that his first touch, his ability to turn his man, is good enough to receive in those tricky areas. Here in the penalty area, his body language is very good. He's demanding the ball and then puts it in the back of the net to give Real Mallorca the lead. So to summarise, Kang-In Lee would add real quality to Manchester United's attacking midfield line. Of course, when you compare United to Manchester City, the depth in basically every position is so much better. So adding another young attacking midfielder into Man United's forward line that already has the likes of Amad Diallo, Alejandro Garnacho, to really bolster a youthful side in the long term, combining with Antony, Marcus Rashford, a new centre-forward, and United are looking good for the future. I think for 17 million euros, it's very much a gamble that I would take. To have a player of the quality of Lee that not only can, dribble, that can carry, but can create chances. Manchester United's squad, it needs players that have got shot-creating actions. You look at Bruno Fernandes, he's on 209 in the Premier League this season, but that's double the amount of any other Manchester United player. Lee in La Liga this season is on about 105. That's more than any United player in the current squad have managed in the league. Lee's going to add that creativity, not only from after carrying, but also in terms of dead balls. Really good at whipping corners in from the left-hand side and the right-hand side. I think adding more left-footed attackers to Manchester United's squad is only going to be beneficial to the team. And a player that's always had promise, now at 22, is finally realising his potential. Manchester United need to act now, or they're going to be paying 70, 80 million euros in a few years' time. We've had that far too much in recent years. You know, Moises Caicedo is another prime example of a player that they should have bought early that they didn't. Don't let Lee be another one, Manchester United. I think the signing would allow United to utilise their balance in other areas. I think it will give Erik Ten Hag another weapon off the bench that can play in a number of those attacking midfield positions, and it would just allow United to start to build a squad capable of challenging for the Premier League. Get into the comments below. Would you sign Kang-In Lee for 17 million euros? I've been Statman Dave. Subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching the Premier League review part 2, and we'll see you soon.